Welcome everybody to the science call tonight. We're so glad you're here. Maybe some of you have been using the Feel Great system, and some of you don't really know what that is or what I'm even talking about. No problem. If you have ever struggled with your metabolic health, or if somebody that you love is struggling with their metabolic health, this is the right call to be on. We are going to talk about some simple strategies that can make a huge difference in your health. And there's a lot of scientific proof and there's a lot of people proof. And you don't have to take my word for it. We're actually going to hear from several different guests tonight who are going to share their stories of what has happened for them since trying these simple strategies that we're going to talk about. So I'm going to overview of the night tonight. I'm going to start by bringing on a few different guests. You're going to get a bit of a theme. You'll notice in the beginning, the guests have a similar theme going. And then after we have those similar themed guests, we're going to have a very special guest. I think this is a story that probably we've never had on a science call before. I mean, certainly we've never had a call like his before, or a story like his before. But if you have ever thought that this whole Feel Great system is really just for sick people or people who have a diagnosis or people's whose health is in a really terrible place, think again, because one of our guests tonight is going to speak from the standpoint of an athlete. And we're going to hear how it can enhance and benefit your life, even if you're somebody who's extremely healthy to begin with. So if you're just joining, please hop in the chat. Tell us where you're from. That's always fun to kind of hear where everybody's joining from. And I'm definitely going to ask for some participation tonight, not just from the guests, but also from those of you who are tuning in. I want you to listen to some of the things that people share tonight. Um, you know, metabolic health is a global problem. And we're really going to lean into that later and explain what it is that you can do. If you feel like you're struggling and you've tried everything and you're frustrated, you've come to the right place. We're going to help make it simple for you and you're going to feel better. So, without any further ado, I am going to bring on our first guest. And so let me make sure that that guest is here and ready. And actually, I don't see that one. So I'm going to bring in who I was planning on second. So, Katherine, are you ready?
I'm here. I'm ready. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you perfectly. So, Katherine, thank you so much. If you wouldn't mind just starting off, if you wouldn't mind telling everybody a little bit about just you, maybe some of your credentials and some of the things about you professionally, and then you can tell us where you were at with your health prior to finding this system. And then I've actually asked Katherine to talk a little bit about her husband as well. But before we get to your husband, just tell us about yourself, Katherine.
I'm Katherine Ramirez. I am a grandmother and all adult children. I work as a midwife. You can see my credentials after my name there. I'm a licensed midwife, certified professional midwife in California. I have been working in holistic healthcare industry for over a decade now. I started out as an aromatherapist, learned herbal medicine, and then moved on to take all of the courses and training necessary to become a midwife. I've been doing that now for 8 years professionally and independently. I am a private practice midwife and I work with women who want to give birth outside of the hospital if they can. And for me, prior to beginning this journey, I was quite burned out. I had been through some personal struggles. Actually, this month last year, I fell and broke my arm. I broke the top of my humerus. And I injured four of the six tendons in my rotator cuff. And a very good friend of mine introduced me to the Feel Great system. I had read about the healing properties of autophagy and intermittent fasting, but I had tried that before. And she told me that the system would help me to use intermittent fasting. I had really failed just the year before in 2023. And I'd only been able to attempt intermittent fasting for a couple of weeks. So I just got started on it. And because I have the science training and I ordered my own labs and got my labs. At that point, I found out that I was pre-diabetic, and I didn't know that before. And so even without attempting this, I would not have known that I was pre-diabetic. I knew my metabolic health wasn't great, but I had kind of been putting myself on the altar of sacrifice for family, clients, my community in general, and not been taking good care of myself. And I needed to change that.
Sorry, I didn't realize I was muted. Yes. Okay. So that's perfect. And I think a lot of us can relate to that phase where, you have an injury or you have some problem come up and you're like, oh gosh, like, how am I supposed to take care of myself the way I'm supposed to? Is my health just going to go down the drain with this whole thing? And here you
Right.
are with all the knowledge of health and wellness and, kind of stuck. And so you started trying this. And can you tell us a little bit about like what happened for you as you started utilizing the system?
I found immediate results in supporting intermittent fasting. I was able to go right back to my longest fasts, which were like 16 hours fasting from dinner until brunch or lunch with no problem. I am in a postmenopausal phase of my life, so I didn't have to worry about fasting with a cycle like other women. But as soon as I learned how easy it was, I got more and more excited about what it could do for my health. And at the same time that that was happening, we found some really scary information about my husband's health too.
Okay, so yeah, so you started using this, you're getting immediate results. What do you find out
Easy.
about your husband?
We find out just as I got my A1C results that showed that I was pre-diabetic, we got his A1C results, and his diabetes, which had been medicated, he had been taking all of his medications as prescribed, was completely out of control. So, for those that don't know what labs mean, 7 or under is considered a controlled diabetic on medication. His was 9.4. Taking
On medication.
on medication, taking his medication as prescribed, his A1C was 9.4, which is an estimated average of 250 milligrams per deciliter average in his blood every day. Really
Okay,
high.
so really bad. And I just want to point out that, Katherine, I have seen pictures of your husband. I've seen him in the background a couple times of a Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
He does not look with the eyeball test like somebody that you would think is a diabetic. And so I
Right,
think we sometimes think we can judge, right? We think we can
right,
tell if somebody's health is good or somebody's health isn't good. And here's
right,
your husband, medicated type 2 diabetic with numbers through the roof.
right.
So maybe I'm just going to stop really quick before you tell us what happened for your husband. I'm just going to share. I want you guys to see what happened for Katherine. Can you guys see this? I'm going to push play on this and you're going to see before to her after. Okay. I'm going to play that again because that's pretty significant. Before to after. And so tell us kind of what happened for you. Like, what were your results on the system from a numbers standpoint?
So I've been on the system now for 6 months. I started October 1st. Today is April 1st. I've been on the system for 6 months. I just had my labs repeated last week, and I've been seeing, you can see from that picture, I've been seeing the health on the scale, which is something I knew about myself. I also have a body positivity that I am not going to judge myself by my size, and apart from that, I knew I wasn't healthy. I
Yeah.
have lost nearly 50 pounds in 6 months. And in addition to that, my numbers are amazing. So I told you I was pre-diabetic before. I'm no longer pre-diabetic. It's come down from 5.7 to 5.3. But something that was really amazing to me, because I have known for years, and we're talking more than 30 years, that my cholesterol was out of control. All of the lipid panel was out of control. My triglycerides have always been very high, everything. And when I learned that you can calculate the ratio from triglycerides to HDL to find out about insulin resistance, I learned that mine was 2.92, already nearly in a really danger zone. And this latest test result, it's nearly in half. It's 1.65 now.
Wow. That's so awesome. That's a huge swing. So, okay, so you're experiencing these amazing results. You refer your husband to this. You say, okay, let's get you on this immediately while medicated,
Mm-hmm.
right? Tell
Mm-hmm.
us what
Mm-hmm.
has happened for him.
Okay, so to be clear, we went through his doctor, we introduced the system to his doctor, and we used the system with his medication, and he wore a continuous glucose monitor on the back of his arm so that we
Okay.
knew that his glucose was not going to drop too low. We saw an immediate drop in his blood sugar the day he began the system. His doctor had given him the target of being within range, which was from 70 to 180 milligrams per deciliter, to be in range 70% of the time. As soon as he started, he was 90 to 100% of the time, always
Wow.
within that range, always within the range. And it took some time for us he learned because he had a CGM on what foods were causing the problems. But we also learned that the Feel Great system and specifically the fiber from the Feel Great system had made such a significant difference that he actually takes it with every meal he eats. He does
Okay.
not fast as much as I do, but it blunts that sugar spike when he has some of carbs, which he really does love. I call him a T-Rex, and we have been nearly carnivore, but he loves his meat, but he also loves chocolate chip cookies. Another
Okay.
nickname is Cookie Monster.
So but he uses that balance and he sees the difference. And so do you know, like, has it been enough time for you to retest the A1C, or has anything changed with his medication? Like, where are we at with that?
So he started just a few days after I did. He's almost at 6 months himself. He had his test about 10 days before starting the system. Because we saw immediate results, the doctor actually told him he could possibly come off just after a month of his medication. He was on 2 prescription medications and he was nearly underweight because of one of them. And that was significant. I didn't want him to drop into underweight, and I knew he was losing skeletal muscle. He was very, very thin. So 3 months, he didn't want to stop any of his meds. He wanted to stay on the meds. At 3 months, when we got the next A1C result, it was 6.2,
Wow.
which is now considered, if he hadn't been already a diabetic, that would be considered a pre-diabetic range.
Wow.
So now it was down so far, the doctor approved for him to come off of medication. He has stopped both diabetes medication and his statins. We are awaiting for the test I think it's the 10th of this month that he goes to see that doctor again, and we'll get some lab results for him since stopping. So he'll have 3 months on the system and then 3 months off the system. But by our estimation, because of his continuous glucose monitor, it's going to be no more than 6.7, which is again a controlled diabetic number.
Off medications and moving
Off
in the right
medications.
direction. And so
Right.
this is so significant because I think most people, and if you're listening to this right now and you've been in that pre-diabetic or diabetic range and you were under
Mm-hmm.
the impression that you had a disease that you were just going to manage and that
Mm-hmm.
was the plan,
Right.
then you pop in the chat and just say, yeah, that was me, right? And now here we are having somebody, instead of just slowing down this one-way road, making a U-turn and
Right.
coming of that completely. And I just think, I mean, we can call that a miracle, and yet we're seeing it time and time again. And so some people it happens for quicker than others. But if this is something that you've struggled with, you are at the right place, and just stay consistent. I know, Katherine, I know you guys are religious about this. I mean, you drink the
Yep.
drink, you know,
Yep.
you do it, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that works when you do it.
Right.
And so I just think your story is so outstanding. Is there anything, I mean, from a medical professional standpoint, is there anything else you want to just add to wrap things up that you would say if somebody was skeptical, or what your final thoughts would be?
So it is more about numbers. It's more about numbers on a scale. It's more than numbers, even in lab tests. Those are objective things that we can see. I'm a person that likes data, so I saw the data.
Yeah.
But for us and for you, I think what you can really count on is what will happen in your lives. My husband, Dave, was not able to, he didn't have the energy to do the things he loved. He was not working out. Whereas 4 years ago, he was walking 10 miles. He couldn't even stand for an hour in the garage to do woodworking. Now we're going to the gym 3 days a week. He's lifting weights. He's putting on good muscle weight. He has got so much better outlook on what's happening. His physical body is not affecting his state, his mind state as much as it was before. And so if you think some things are only in your head, look at what's happening for your body. And now connecting the emotion, the mind, the body, the spirit
Yeah.
is the way to
Yeah.
go. You really should look at the possibility that it's your physical body that's trying to tell you something, because we
Yeah.
found that it was.
Yeah, and I just think, rather than chalking things up to age or up to, oh, I've got this thing and it's causing me this setback. Now all of a sudden he's back at the gym. He's doing the things that he loves, and it has got a new lease on life in so many ways. So
Right.
yeah, thank you so much for sharing that, Katherine. I am so happy for your family. And just to kick off this theme in the beginning of the buddy system, right? Using
Mm-hmm.
this with somebody else in your household, or using this
Mm-hmm.
with a friend or a sister or a neighbor or
Right.
something like that. I really think there is something to that,
Mm-hmm.
and appreciate what's happened in your household. So thank you so much for coming on.
I'm really glad that you asked me to. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you bet. Okay. Thank you. And I'm going to remove you and bring on our next guest. And so let's see. Nate and Melissa, are you guys ready? I'm going to add you to the spotlight. There we go, and ask you to unmute.
All
Okay, so
right.
hi, thanks for being here, you two. I can hear you, and I'm happy to have you on here. I just another couple story that's pretty awesome, and don't know where you guys want to start exactly, but I figured maybe we start with Melissa, because I know Melissa is the one that kind of discovered this in the first place. So Melissa, maybe you can tell us like where you were at with your health and why you decided to try this Feel Great system.
Okay, so I was doing all the things I thought I was supposed to do. I was exercising regularly, probably 5 to 6 days a week, and I was skipping breakfast, and then I had an 8 hour eating window. So I was familiar with intermittent fasting. But I have a sweet tooth. I've always had a sweet tooth, and night times were the worst. I could go without sugar all day long, and then I'd have dinner, and it was that like after dinner till going to bedtime that I felt like I would undo everything I did during the day. And I just could not get the scale to budge. And I had tried all the different things. I tried keto, paleo, all these different things, but it wasn't sustainable. I would do it for like a month or two, the scale would budge, I'd get so excited, but then it's like just so exhausting, meal planning and all this stuff. And I was like, just go right back to old habits, and I was like, oh, I'll just exercise. And if I just can keep exercising, well, at least maintain my weight. That was
Right.
the hope.
Yeah.
um, so then I found this, and I actually originally purchased it for him because I found someone who was talking, Jody Moore was talking about it with her pre-diabetes and stuff. And so I wanted him off of meds and injections and things. So he said, you buy it, I'll try it. It came, he tried it a little bit and kind of, just got distracted, was a little stubborn, whatever the case is. And so I decided to try it, and yeah, the rest is history. I mean, it was the easiest thing I'd ever done. And like the pounds were just melting off. And yeah, it was just so cool. My body composition started to change. And I was like, oh, wow, this is so awesome. All the hard work I'm doing in the gym is showing up. And I didn't have to
So
restrict much either.
so was the intermittent fasting kind of new for you?
No, so I was familiar with skipping breakfast, and I had already been used to exercising in a fasted state. So my body was already kind of well adjusted to all of that. It's
So it's
just
just
that
adding the drinks in.
yeah, it was really just adding the drinks in and the no snacking. Like that's
Okay.
all I had to adjust was that, okay, now when I have my meal, I'm going to eat in that order. And then in the afternoon between lunch and dinner, I'm not going to have any snacks. And the mate made it so easy. And then again, prioritizing fiber, I think it was just like, oh, wow, this is like the easiest thing I've ever done. How did I not know about this? Why is nobody
So,
talking about fiber first?
right, right. I know. Once you start realizing how important fiber is at the start of your meals, you start seeing and hearing about it everywhere, and you're like, where has this been hiding? Why am I just now finding out about this? And it makes such a difference. So, okay, before you were doing your fasting and you kind of had an open, like 8-hour eating window. And
Yep.
so you tightened it up and you just have 2 meals. Is that right?
Yes.
And about how long would you say like your meal window is?
Right now,
Yeah, like when you do eat a meal, is it like an hour or so that you?
yeah, sometimes less than that. Just kind of usually my lunch is a bit faster because it's sometimes it's on the go. It's like in the car to get kids for carpool. So then my dinner, I feel like my dinner window is a little bit longer than my lunch window.
Okay. I like asking that because I've kind of found the same that if I think about it like about an hour or
Mhm.
less, it kind of helps me because usually it takes you like 20 minutes to eat your meal or less,
Right,
right?
right.
But then maybe you have a little apple or something towards the end of that hour before you go back into a fast in between your 2 meals. And that kind of gave me a little bit of parameters. And I
Mhm.
felt like same thing, like my results came quicker than when I was kind of grazing throughout that whole eating window. So that's cool. Yeah, I found the same thing. So okay, so fast forward because I know that at some point your husband starts taking interest. So maybe you can tell us a little bit of where you were at. Were you skeptical? Were you just not super interested? Did you not like the taste? Like where did you
You liked it
start
better.
from?
You liked
Yeah,
it better than I did at first.
I didn't mind the taste at all. I know I've heard that others may, but I think I've embraced the name of skeptic for for myself. I am very. It just takes me a while. I like to watch from a distance. I like to take some time to analyze and look and research. And honestly, I was at a point where I just was so frustrated because nothing in my life was working medically to resolve a lot of the issues that I had. And that's kind of been my experience throughout my life is that, typical either medications or solutions just don't, I feel like I'm an anomaly in a lot of ways. And so I just had kind of hit this point where it's just another thing. And so I more so did it just to kind of pacify Melissa and try it out, and was really pleasantly surprised with the results, like life changing.
Okay, so where were you at prior to starting? Why did she want
Yeah.
you to try it? Like, what was actually happening for you?
So, one of the major issues that I knew about at the time was gout. So I had been battling gout for basically our entire marriage, like 15, 16 years. And, and so that was very problematic because when I would get a flare up, I was down for a week or two at a time with very limited mobility, just severe pain and body inflammation all of the time, even when I wasn't having a flare up at the time. And then uh, a couple of years ago was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, when reality I probably have had it a lot longer than that. It just hadn't been diagnosed. And so that was kind of a tipping point for me where I had I'm currently watching my dad go through a lot of health challenges, and just knowing that I need to change the mold. Something needs to change, and we need to break the cycle and set better habits for our kids and for ourselves, and just be around and be more present. And so I just had started to go down the rabbit hole of research and what can I do to find natural solutions, since the typical medical solutions just don't seem to be working for me. And this is really where the protocol kind of fit in for me. So, I was
Someone's
very.
been taking medication?
Yeah, so
Okay.
for the gout, was taking a couple of different medications, prednisone, Uloric, allopurinol, more like preventative type things, and then steroids to acutely treat, the flare-ups when those would happen. And then from a type 2 diabetes standpoint, I was taking Mounjaro, Metformin, Zigduo, was taking a blood pressure medication as well. So there were 5 or 6 medications that I was taking to control and manage all of that. So not a highlight in my life.
And I mean, just by the looks of you, you're young, right? Like you're too young for this, like those health issues. And you just imagine like, what does this mean for the next 50 years, 60 years that I'm planning on living, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, okay, so now fast forward, tell us like what has happened for you since using the system.
Yeah, so I can relate a lot with the husband of the last guest that you had on, where I had gone in for just I had went to go see a new doctor that specializes in diabetes treatment, both natural and regular typical solutions, and just had expressed the journey that I had been on. And we did some blood work, and at the time they were really concerned. My A1C was 13.9, and so they were like, do you have blurred vision? We need to run some other tests. They were extremely concerned with where those levels were at. I just felt like I was functioning like normal, and nothing was, that was just normal. And so anyways, we started a strict regimen of medications, and came back 3 months after that, and I had been
It's like 3 or 4. It was like
it was closer to 4, yeah, but was very strict with diet, was very strict with the protocol, taking the Unimate and the Balance, and anyways, after that period of time, I had come back in and was just under 6. So I believe it was 5.8 or 5.9 when I went back. And
from over 13.
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah. And so for me, again, similar, I think the biggest things I noticed was, the mobility, the body inflammation was almost gone within a few weeks, and then consistently stayed away, which I'm still nervous about and wondering when that might come back at some point, or if it will. That's the skeptic side of me. So the body inflammation was the first thing that I really noticed, was the reduction and just completely eliminating that altogether. And then outside of that, just complete stability. I also wore a glucose monitor at the time. And so having very stable blood sugars throughout the day was, really helpful, and just mood stabilization, energy levels, all of that.
Wow.
And yeah, so it's been, and now I'm off. I've been approved or authorized to stop the medications outside of my, just typical gout medicine. But I had taken that before for years and years and years, and it had never worked. And so really the only X factor for me in this whole process has been the protocol. That's the only thing that has changed, that has allowed me to feel different and see medically and through blood work actual results.
Wow, Nate. So, okay, I want to rewind a little bit. Were there struggles that you had? I mean, I'm sure you had tried to get healthy before, right? Like, what were some of, if you don't mind sharing, like, what were some of your vices or struggles before?
Yeah. So I wouldn't say sweets so much, but certainly carbs. Like, I love pastas and breads. And I don't even know that it was necessarily the foods that were holding me back as much as just immobility, like being able to not exercise consistently or move at all. And whenever I did exercise, then I would be down for several days because I would aggravate and irritate my body. And so, just being completely immobile and not being able to exercise, I think was the biggest holdup in that process, along with just some of those food cravings around pastas and breads and, the carbs.
Okay, so now, I mean, how many people can relate to the cravings of the starchy carbs and the sugar and the soda and all the things that, bring us joy? That's how we think of those foods, right? But then also that, like, I need to move more. I know that will help me, but like, I do not have it in me. And sometimes for you, you genuinely couldn't because of the gout flare-ups, but then
Right.
other times, the inflammation, the high sugars, like you must have felt horrible. Like now do you realize that you felt pretty terrible kind of thing,
Oh,
right?
absolutely. And that's where mentally it was taking a huge toll on me. Like, I've always been a really positive person, and I don't let I've never considered myself negative or that I get down or that I stay in a dark place or anything like that. But having seen the changes since being on the protocol, I didn't realize how much better it could be until now. And just how much I had really missed not being able to exercise and to be active and to be mobile. Because prior, throughout high school and college years, et cetera, that I really prided myself on having a strong body and being able, I love exercise. Like that is my happy place. If I could be in the gym for 3 or 4 hours a day, I would do that. And so anyways, it's nice to be able to return to higher levels of activity.
Okay. I love it. So really happy for you. These stories are just like so awesome and mind blowing. Final words that you would have for somebody that's skeptical, or maybe somebody who has a loved one that they really want to try this because they can see what could happen for their loved one. Like, you can each take a minute and like, what's your advice?
Well, first, I would say just do it. I mean, you have nothing to lose in the process. If you want to look at the whole money back guarantee and those types of things. But if you have been trying things up to this point, try this. I genuinely, from my own experience, know that you won't be disappointed. Again, even for healthy people, that was the biggest thing for me. I mean, Melissa was already healthy, and to see how it could help somebody who was already healthy and how much better it could really be. It gives you a lot of optimism that if you're unhealthy, it can substantially improve your life. And so just doing that. And then the other part of it from hearing harsh things is just, you got to stick with it and be consistent. Like you can't waver. You can't, miss days here and there or weeks or whatever. You've got to be consistent. And if you're consistent, I am 100% convinced that you are going to see results in a great way.
Yeah.
Awesome. Melissa?
Yeah. So then from my side, being someone who, again, I thought I was healthy. I realized there was always improvement that can be made. But I think it took me just starting it first and him just seeing the changes in me. So if you're someone who wants a loved one to do it, you start. If you can start first, people recognize when a shift has been made. And I'm sure, I don't know if he noticed my mood changed. I don't know if he noticed weight loss. I don't know specifically what he noticed. We've never really sat down and had a heart to heart about that. Doesn't really matter because he's doing it now. But yeah, just you go first and you let your results speak for themselves, because people are much more likely to follow an example than to follow, nagging. So.
Okay, I love that. Great advice. Well, thank you both so much for being here. I really appreciate it. And your story will inspire a lot of people. You're getting a lot of love in the chat. So thanks so much.
Thank you.
Well, remove the spotlight and okay, so I want to show, some of you are like, all right, this whole idea of sharing it with other people. And I want to make sure that you know how to share with somebody else so that you can benefit. And maybe you're aware of this, maybe you're not, but Unicity has a fantastic referral program. And what that means is if you're using the system, then you automatically have a referral link. And you can share that with somebody. And when they purchase, you're going to get $10 of product credit every time they order. So if they order for several months, then you're going to get $10 every single time they order. Okay. So the way that you can refer people, I'm going to just share my screen for a second and show this. Let's see here. All right, here we go. You go to the You Feel Great website where you made your first purchase, and you log in, and in the top right hand corner of the screen, you're going to see your initials, and you can click on your initials, and you can click this little copy your referral link, and then you can paste that link in a message to somebody. And when they open that up, it will say at the top, referred by, and your name. And this will make sure that Unicity knows that you're the one that referred them. And so even in your own household, you may want to start earning some product credit. So instead of buying 2 systems or 3 systems or 4 systems for your family, you can refer your family members. They can set up their own account, and that way you can earn product credit. Okay. So if you have any questions about that, you can come into the chat and share about that. I do want to just point out, I saw in the chat, Nate and Melissa that shared earlier, somebody asked Nathan, how much weight did you lose? And he said he went from 331 pounds to 248 pounds. I thought that deserved mentioning. That's pretty outstanding. So I wanted to make sure we pointed that out. Now, we have a couple more guests that we're going to bring on, and I do want to show you exactly how to use this protocol. So we're going to get to that, but let's bring on the athlete, Micah. Sorry, goodness, Micah. And we just had Michael, but now we're going to have Micah. And I'm really looking forward to hearing your story because I've never heard it. You and I have never chatted about this. I've heard some amazing things, but I want to hear it the first time straight from your mouth. So I appreciate you coming on. Could you tell us a little bit about you? Were you in a health struggle? What was going on with your health prior to finding this, and what put you onto it?
Okay. Can you guys hear me?
Perfect.
Yep. Okay. It's good to be here. Yeah. My name is Micah. I have a little bit of a unique take on it. Back in 2014, I was 23, and I had just decided that I wanted to know how close to the Olympic trials I could get for a marathon. I was attending a university that didn't have any school sports. I was loving my time at school. And so I said, well, then if I can't be on a team here, what's kind of the pinnacle of marathon athletics? And it was the Olympics. And so I started looking up. I said, well, how do I make it to the Olympics? And there's this race called the trials. If you're an American citizen and you run under 2 hours and 19 minutes, you can go to this race. And so I kind of started from there. Unimate came out, I believe, in 2017. And so I moved to Utah in 2016 to run with a fast team down here. So I started taking Unimate when it first came out, and it quickly became a routine of mine. One of the things that I enjoyed the most out of it at the very beginning was on a tight schedule in the morning when you still got to get to work, I couldn't eat, let the food digest, and still go do a 10 to 15 mile training run. So Unimate was awesome to help me run fasted. And so I ran better, and I didn't have to have food in my stomach. So that's kind of the beginning of my story. And I know we're close on time, so I just want to make sure I answer what you're most interested in.
Okay, so everybody, we're looking at one of the top runners in the world, okay? Now I know Unimate is amazing. It shrinks fat cells, it enhances muscles, it helps your liver function better, it makes you forget about food, it increases GLP-1, it does all these amazing things. And those are massively beneficial for people who are in a metabolic storm or struggling with their health. But here's Micah, one of the top runners in the world, and he gets on this Unimate. And you're now running in a fasted state 10 plus miles. So did you notice a difference in your time? And if listen, I'm putting you on the spot, but if you could share with us, like, what kind of time stamps on these distance runs are we looking at?
Yeah, no, happy to. I noticed one of the biggest differences was, I mean, to give you an average morning, if I got up at 6, I loved making Unimate hot. When it first came out, there was a flavor called citrus mint. You all don't have the pleasure of that flavor. That was rendition 1. But piping hot, loved sipping it, loved kind of having an experience with it, right? So I like to read, I like to think. And so if I left to run at 7 a.m., let's say, or 6:45, and I was doing a 10-mile run, on average, I'm averaging under 7 minutes per mile on an average day run. But then on a workout day, I might have 6 or 7 miles that are right around 5 minutes per mile. So to give you an idea, a marathon in 2 hours and 19 minutes is averaging 5 minutes and 15 seconds a mile for 26 miles. And so it was that type of training, training for that is 2 times a day, kind of, one in the morning, one after. And so Unimate was crucial. But one of the things that I noticed, which is a positive for non-runners, but maybe not in my case, there is I could go until noon without eating. That's how strong Unimate was. I could come home from a run, shower, go to work, and all of a sudden it's 11, and I'd be like, oh crap, I haven't eaten yet. And so again, positive, but when you're running that much, you kind of need the calories.
Yeah.
But and so that was the biggest thing. So on race day, if anyone's interested, I'd hit 2 Unimates in the morning, and then I'd get to put water bottles out on the course, and I'd have 1 or 2 water bottles with Unimate in them. If you guys think Unimate is strong in 20 ounces of water, try it in 4. Uh, so because that's kind of all you get. You don't sit there and suck on a water bottle for 20 ounces while you're running 5-minute miles. So
you would choose on your path to have your water experience be Unimate.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because you found that it enhanced your performance.
Yeah. It was, kind of hard to measure, but the concept of being in the zone is, again, hard to measure. The way I would describe it is, when I had a system in the morning, where I'm sipping it and I'm getting ready to run, that was telling my mind and body it's go time. So whatever your go time is, whether it's getting ready to go to work or go to the gym or maybe just, whatever things you got to get accomplished, that's what I noticed. And so taking a double shot before a race was getting me where I needed to go. And then just throughout it, the knowing that that's what's going into my body, the way it helps me burn fat better. When you're running that fast, you're really trying to balance burning sugar and fat. If you burn too much sugar early on, you bonk. And so you're kind of trying to see how fast can I go, but be utilizing fat for energy. And so that's what I noticed Unimate helped a lot. If I run without it, I kind of bonk in longer runs or hit a wall sooner. And so, but when I've taken it, I've done up to 20, 22-mile runs fasted.
I can't believe it. It's so awesome. Wow. And part of why that's happening, everybody, the science part of that is and what he's explaining is it helps you get into ketosis quicker when you're sipping on the Unimate. So ketosis is where you're using your fat as your fuel source. And so Micah's trying to stay in that fat burning fuel source during his runs, and Unimate is helping him stay there. So that's just awesome. I love hearing your story. I so appreciate it. Last words for somebody who's an athlete, they go, this sounds like like a weight loss system. That's not for me. What would your advice be to an athlete?
Yeah, so I've actually been pondering on that. So I guess I'll make a plug for the concept of balance in here as well. Our bodies do well when we're able to take the food that we eat, the energy that we eat, and distribute it where it needs to go. So whether that helps us in weight loss, whether that helps our cognitive, whether we feel better, right? We say we feel we have more energy. Athletes benefit from that the same way someone trying to lose weight does. This ability to help ourselves digest the food and help each of our cells get energy into them, do what they're supposed to do the best they can. Man, anyone's going to benefit from that. And so as I move forward, currently as I'm trying to run more and get back into that amount of training, it's not a weight loss thing for me. It's can my body take what I'm trying to do to it and the food that I eat and the nutrition that I give it, can it do something with it? And can it do it to a better ability than it could without feel great? So that's what I'd say.
I love that. Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. I so appreciate it. I love the uniqueness of it. And we need more of that because we have a lot of athletes that are using this and we need to talk more about that. So thank you very much.
No problem.
Appreciate you being here. Okay. So listen, I know we're coming to the end here and I've just been so excited about these testimonials that it's been hard to move on. I do have one last story. And while you're hearing this story, if you would pop in the chat and tell us like what has happened for you since using the system. And then I am going to take a couple minutes at the end and just show you briefly how to maximize your results with this system. So we've got a couple more minutes of a testimonial, and then I'll show you how to maximize your results. But meanwhile, please let me know what has happened for you so far. And I want you to share if you've had a measurable result since using the system, but you do not need to exaggerate. Genuinely curious what has happened for you so far. So, okay, I finally figured out where Annie is, and I am so happy to have you come on here. All right, I've got both of you. Great news. I've got Daryl and Annie. So if you guys can just unmute. Perfect. Okay, so a couple weeks ago, and if anybody wasn't on that call, we had Daryl, and Daryl came on and he shared his story, and he talked about what's happened for his type 2 diabetes and his weight, and he's had some pretty phenomenal results, which I'm going to show you a picture in just a minute here of what's happened for Daryl, so you can kind of get a visual on it. But his numbers are really where the magic is, okay? His blood, his lab results. Annie, his wife, is the one who kind of put him on this. She got him onto this. And Annie, correct me if I'm wrong, but you weren't really thinking about using it for yourself, right?
Right.
Okay. So take us now, Annie, take us, what piqued your interest? Why did you start using it? And tell us what has happened for you so far.
Well, I've said this before, but I was optimistically pessimistic about the system. But Daryl, like back in the fall, he came home from the doctor and his numbers were high. And I had heard Jody Moore talk about the Feel Great system and you on that podcast. And so we talked about it, and Daryl said he would like to do it because he had just hit a wall. And a lot of if you've heard us talk about this before, Daryl had a stroke 11 years ago, and we've just never been able to get everything under control. And so the priority to me was Daryl, that we needed to see if we could figure this out. So for 4.5 months, Daryl has just done the system and done so well on the system, and his numbers have been coming down and his weight has been coming down, and it's not been this big hard thing. And so then it was just about I guess I'm about on my third, starting maybe my fourth week. I was like, you know what? I'm jumping in too. Like once I saw all of his results, I mean, I knew it was working, and we felt just so much hope. And I don't really have a weight issue. I'm not on any medication or anything like that because I exercise and do, but I have a thyroid, an enlarged thyroid gland that really is like this big. I mean, anyway, so I actually went to an endocrinologist back in January. Then I met with the surgeon about 2 or 3 weeks ago. No, about a month ago. And I am scheduled to have surgery on May 28th. So 3 or 4 weeks ago, I just started drinking this, not at all for the thyroid, but just like for brain fog and for just different things like that. I thought I'm just going to do it because I'm just doing it. So I did. And like this past week, I'm like, oh my gosh, this thing is like so much smaller. It's like barely there. And I'm like, maybe I don't have to have surgery. Did not expect that this big lump in my throat would be going away. I can't even believe it. So we talked
So,
it's
I was just
crazy.
gonna say, I'm gonna share a picture really quick so everybody can kind of see, because you'll be able to see it too. This was the thyroid before, and you can see how it's kind of protruding here. Let's see if I can get you a better view at this. And then you can see now today the difference, that she just does not have the same, protrusion that she was dealing with before, which what a relief, right? Like I'm sure there's a
Right.
lot of nerves that go into feeling like you're going to have a procedure. And I don't know, maybe you still will, but it's definitely not going to be what it would have been, right?
Right. Yeah.
And
So
I'll just
anyway, big surprise.
I'll show you guys Daryl's before and after, because it's pretty awesome too to see the difference in how he's looking. And you can just see in the same shirt, fitting him quite differently. His face looks different. I mean, in my opinion, Daryl, you look younger. You
Well,
really
thank
have
you.
you have reversed aged yourself here, and
Mhm.
you look like you're ready to go out and, I don't know, play a game of baseball with somebody. It's great. It's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, fit as a fiddle. So, thank you so much for sharing your story. I think that in most cases, this is what happens. You buy it for somebody who you feel is in dire need, but why not you? Why not improve your health a little too? So, any final words that you would share?
I appreciated the couple that was talking about, like, this is something that I just feel like this is just a lifestyle thing. Like, this is not a diet. This isn't a thing. It's just what you do for just better health. Like Daryl's health is better than it has probably, I mean, that it's been in so long, and we feel so much hope. And then like this thing, such a big surprise. So yeah, no, we're all in.
It's so awesome. Okay. Well, listen, thanks so much for
Thank
being
you.
here. I'm gonna, I know we're on borrowed time here, and I'm sorry to go over a couple minutes, but I am gonna just spend 2 minutes reading a few of these amazing stories from the chat because my mind is blown by these. And you guys all deserve a moment to have your stories spotlighted. And then I'm just gonna show you in 2 minutes how I would maximize my results if I were using this system. Okay. So let's see, these are coming in quicker than I can read them. Triglycerides from Craig Clay, triglycerides down from 150 to 70 off my statin. HDL has gone up from a 43 to a 59, lost 60 pounds in less than a year, and neuropathy has lessened. Whoa, amazing. Rhonda says, I have always been pretty healthy, but I've lost 27 pounds. I have some skin issues that have cleared up, skin tags, and something that is like psoriasis that has cleared up. Able to sleep through the night again. Acid reflux started before using the protocol, and that is gone. You started with some tingling in your feet, and that is gone. So you feel better than you have in years. I love that. All your blood work is in the green. That's just incredible. Cholesterol, Beverly shared a story at cholesterol from mid 200s to 131, lost 12 pounds, less thyroid meds in less than 6 weeks. Oh, amazing. Incredible. Bariatric surgery. Natalie's sharing this. Okay. She had bariatric surgery 2 years ago, and in the past year, weight slowly was creeping back on, and you were struggling with snacking. In just 2.5 weeks, you're down 7 pounds and feeling great with no desire to snack. Amazing. Okay, heart palpitations are gone, Luann says. Down 30 pounds, lifelong knee pains are gone, rosacea is gone, went from extra large tops to a medium, and a size 10, 12 jeans to a size 6. Wendy said her thyroid has gone down as well. Amazing. Okay, Ralph, 50.2 pounds gone, A1C 7.9, now 5.4. Insulin resistance score is a healthy 1.5, from a 4XL to an XL. No more IBS, foot neuropathy, pain, and blood pressure, and cholesterol all look great and off over half of your meds. You guys, I could keep going. If I had more time, I absolutely would, but go screenshot those chats because this is absolutely awesome, awesome, awesome what is being said in there. Now, I had a whole presentation for you, and I am literally just going to skip to the end because of time, because those stories were where we needed to spend our focus. But I just want to be clear that doing this protocol properly means that when we wake up in the morning, instead of, we've been fasting already because we've been sleeping. And so we continue that fast by sipping on this Unimate. Now, some of the women may be making slight modifications to fast with your hormones and work with your sponsor on that. But this is what most of us do most of the time. Okay, we fast through breakfast, we sip on the Unimate. Then we have lunch. That's this spike here. Then we have our second Unimate in between lunch and dinner, so we don't snack. And then we have our balance before our heaviest meal of the day. And it might be lunch and it might be dinner for you. And as you heard from some of our guests, some people buy an extra box of balance and they have a balance before each of their meals. That's what I do. Now, some of you have both of your Unimates in the morning. That's totally fine. You can do that. Have them whenever you want. Often I have 2 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon. Some days I have 4. Totally up to you. You can have as many as you want. Everybody's a little bit different. Now, the Unimate, there was a few questions about this. A recent study that was done on it showed that it increases your body's production of that GLP-1 hormone 60 to 70%. So if you're using one of the GLP-1 medications, that's a synthetic version of this hormone. Unimate is getting your body to produce this naturally. It's phenomenal. It also helps your liver get rid of oxidative stress at a quicker rate. And it helps with muscle enhancement, as we heard from Micah. It really helps encourage your muscles to be more efficient so you can run faster and lift heavier weights. And it shrinks fat cells as you sip on it, gets you into ketosis quicker, does not break your fast. So that's the Unimate. The second part of this is the balance. The balance in our most recent study showed that it lowers your post-meal glucose spike 34 to 37%. So this is significant. This is a stronger percentage than what you get from metformin, which is a 25 to 30% drop. So this is massive, especially if you're somebody who is dealing with blood glucose issues. But even if you're not, I wasn't dealing with that. And I can tell you that by stabilizing your blood sugar, you will have better energy, your eyesight will improve, your mood will improve, you'll feel full longer, your joint pain and aging and all of those things will improve because balancing your blood sugar is key to metabolic health. Something that I can tell you happens for people sometimes in their first couple weeks. And if you see yourself in one of these things, don't worry, nothing's gone wrong. Sometimes we deal with some lightheadedness when we first start the system, or headaches, or muscle cramps, or weakness, frequent urination, heartburn, stomach grumbling, gas and bloating. These symptoms do not last. Okay, they do not last. You may need some electrolytes. You may need to increase your water in the very beginning, but stay with it, because if you stay with it, you can expect the results like you heard tonight. And here's a list of some of the other things you can expect if you stay with it. Cravings decrease, your food preferences will change, and on and on. Okay, so this is something. A few small tips I would give you. We talked about this a little bit, adding an extra balance to your order. You want to skip on snacks and use Unimate instead. On the rare occasion that you do snack or that you eat outside of your normal time frames, add an extra balance. If you forget to take your balance before your meals, I recommend that you take it anyway. Maybe you're in the middle of eating, still take your balance. Maybe you've gotten all the way to the end of your meal, still take your balance. The blood sugar balance is going to help the most at the start of your meal, but most of us are so deficient in fiber that it's definitely better to take it than not take it. There's lots of benefits there, okay? Use Unimate as a pre-workout, try fasted exercise, eliminate juice and soda. I highly recommend that if you can, and replace it with the Unimate. Limit your carbs to 50 or less per day if you really want to get faster results. Eat your foods in order. Start with fiber, move on to your proteins and healthy fats, and save your carbs for last. And as you're on this journey, pay attention to non-scale victories like your lab tests, your mental health, your energy, your skin, your sleep, your digestion, ability to fast longer. Oftentimes, people just want to focus on weight loss, and this system is so much more than weight loss. The weight loss is just a fun benefit when you get everything else in order. So thank you so much for staying with me and staying till the bitter end here. I really appreciate you being here. If you have questions, please reach out to the person that invited you. If you're considering trying the system and this is your first exposure to it, reach out to the person who invited you and make sure you use their link. It will get you $75 off the protocol, and you want to use that discount. And if you have a friend that wants to use this, refer a friend. You'll get product credit and they will get that $75 discount. Thanks so much for being here, everyone. Have a wonderful night.